Michigan, Ms. Tlaib is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Chairman. You know, we're talking about all of this, and all I keep thinking about is how paralyzed the CFPB is right now. I mean, this is where the 911 for consumer fraud is. I mean, romance fraud is up. I have this huge fraud right now. You got to check this out, Chairman, where they say, oh, you didn't respond to the jury response. Did you hear about this one? To jury duty, and your warrant's out for your arrest, and they get these calls. I had one constituent lose $11,000 on that one. They're getting so sophisticated, because you're right, they even have a website with .org. Like, so, not .gov, but .org, like, so it looks real. It almost looks exactly like, and the number that they call them from is the same county number. All of that to say is CFPB was doing an incredible job, and it's being paralyzed right now. Why? Because it goes after banks that cover up the scams. Let's be honest. Let's be frank here. Everybody keeps thinking about that, but think about it. I don't know why they don't want to like help and aid in regards to this. I mean, to see them in March, you know, CFPB under the current administration dropped a case against digital payment app, what's that, Zelle? A joint venture between Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, delivering a de facto pardon to the company for failing to protect its, you know, users from fraud. We're almost giving them like, hey, well, that's not our fault. We can't, oh, well. I mean, that doesn't make any, there should be a sense of responsibility on the consumer to be protected if these big banks are, you know, again, having their consumers, you know, use their service. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, one of the things, and this is to all the witnesses, if banks fail to fulfill their obligations under the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, some protections in there, requiring them to investigate customer complaints of fraud. If those banks will, you know, willfully ignore hundreds of millions of dollars in consumer losses, would you agree that you know, at that moment they're not going to be held accountable and they're not going to even actually proceed unless we force them to? I feel like people think they're just going to do the right thing, and I'm like, no, CFP made them do it. And so what I continue to see, I don't care if it's the loan services for the student loans, I don't care if it was the folks targeting the veterans, and some of this stuff never gets headlines. It never gets in the headlines. So I would love to hear from all of you. I mean, you saw this case get dropped, and be honest. I think, be honest. Do you think them dropping that case exposed all of our consumers right now?
So I'll jump in real quick. Yeah. So the EFTA, one of the brilliant things about that statute is that it actually has a private enforcement.
She's talking about, for my residents, Electronic Funds Transfer Act. I just want them to know, when they see that, they don't know that there's protections in there. Right. They just think it's something to do with transfer of money.
So it does have private enforcement with really strong remedies if it's violated, including punitive damages and treble damages. However, not everybody can afford a lawyer.
That's right.
And one of the brilliant things about the CFPB is it acted on behalf of all of those who can't afford
I said that to people. The Elder Law Clinic can't take the case. I'm serious, Chairman. They didn't take the case. They can't do any. I send them to CFPB. And sometimes CFPB just calls or sends the letter and inquiry, gets it fixed like that.
Yeah,
I've seen it happen.
And I also just want to, you know, respond to something that one of the witnesses talked about, which is about private entities that are able to help protect consumers. Yeah. Now, that is all well and good, and I love that, but there are low-income consumers who can't afford those services, right. And that's the importance of government agencies.
I mean, what do you all think, other than, I mean, you know, Ms. Carla here, what do you all think about them dropping the case? You think that was a great idea? We're talking about $870 million in losses to the public. And this is one of 22 enforcement actions, by the way. Don't be afraid. Was this a good action on behalf of CFPB to drop that case? Paul?
I'm sorry, Congresswoman, I'm not familiar with the case. I can't speak to that.
Okay, how about you, Ian? So it's okay. They're just not going to enforce the Electronic Funds Transfer Act. But go ahead, Ian.
I appreciate the question. I'm also unfamiliar with the case.
Kate, you're familiar. You know that CFPB just dropped the $870 million case against these folks. I mean, Zelle is participating with these banks, and they're letting it happen. And pretty much they're like, sorry, you lost that money. We can't do anything about it.
Thank you for the question. One of the things that we talked about a lot in the task force that we have been organizing is the ability for, in this example of the text messages, for the banks to get information from the telecommunications companies about that interaction.
That's
so that
right.
they know whether that case is fraudulent.
Why
There's a
don't
lot of
they just want to
action.
do, I don't understand why they don't want to help.
Well, I think the issue will come out within this report is how we can help all of those institutions to better share information so that they can take more preventative action.
Yeah, thank you. I yield.